So you want to take better videos with your Canon M50. Excellent. Or maybe you're thinking about buying one, but you're not sure about the video quality. Well, then this video is for you. I will show you how you can get the most out of your Canon M50 and shoot better videos faster. Hopefully, I can save you some money and some time in the process. I think the Canon M50 is an amazing camera, even a great one for the price point. I've used the Canon M50 for a couple of months for all my photography as well as my video. And I'm currently shooting this video with the settings I will show you now. Before we dive into the settings of the M50 and get the most out of your video settings, I think there is one thing that we need to mention: shutter speed. To get that cinematic look that we are craving, we should set your shutter speed to twice your frame rate. That means if you're shooting in 24 or 25 frames per second, your shutter speed should be 1/50th of a second. And if you're shooting 60 frames per second, 120th of a second. And if you're shooting 120 frames per second, 240th of a second. You get the picture, right? So let's start, shall we? In camera menu 1, set your camera to manual video mode. That way we have more control over the settings and we will ensure that we get the most out of our videos. I personally don't use the 4K mode in the M50 as the autofocus is not working at its full potential. But don't worry, I will share something great that will give you 4K quality without actually having to shoot with it. Great, right? Under Movie Rec Quality, choose your correct resolution and your frame rate. As I'm in Sweden, and you cannot tell on the accent, I have set my camera to NTSC. So I get 24 frames per second, or well, to be exact, 23.98. But if you have your camera set to PAL, you will have 25 frames per second. If you shoot at 30 frames per second, it will look less cinematic, but equally good. So it depends a little bit on what style you want. You should always ensure that you have a good white balance. If you shoot indoor like I do in this video, just set your Kelvin to the same as your lights. If you shoot outdoors, set it to a fixed value, either Kelvin or any of the other non-auto. You can turn the forward knob to adjust the Kelvins. The last camera setting we need to adjust is the picture style. There are many native in-camera styles to choose from, but I would say the standard or the neutral is the most common one. There are also some commercial profiles you need to buy and download. I will not go over those specific profiles, but I will add a link in the description for an in-depth guide. Instead, I will show you a free way to use the in-camera neutral profile, but with some minor tweaks to get the most out of your camera. And it will save you tons of edit time in post. Trust me. Go down to User Definition 3. Press Set on the picture style and pick Neutral. Change Sharpness to 2. Contrast and Saturation to -3. So let's change our ISO to something as low as possible. On the M50 that's going to be 100. The lower the ISO value, the less noise, but the downside is that it's going to require more light. The shutter speed is going to be 1/50th of a second because we're shooting 24 or 25 frames per second, right? That only leaves aperture to be the variable value that we could actually change. So you need to adjust your aperture to as low value as possible with the correct exposure. The kit lens, that's going to be 3.5, and for the Sigma 16mm that I'm currently using, I can go as low as 1.4. But if we know that we want 1/50th of a second and we have set ISO to 100, the only way we can actually control the correct exposure is the aperture. You can either decrease your aperture, step down, or a higher value, or we can block the light. The fastest way to do this and with the most control is with an ND filter. They can be either fixed or like this one, a variable ND filter. So basically you can just twist the filter and it becomes gradually darker. Like variable sunglasses for your camera lens. Let's put all this together and look at the test shot I did yesterday evening here in Sweden. Let's add the ND filter so we can step up to 2.2 and get some nice background blur. Did you see that? The difference with the ND filter and the background blur looks so much better, so much more cinematic. As a comparison, here's some shot with the kit lens. Doesn't look as good as the Sigma as it's 3.5, but it looks a lot better than f11, at least I think so. I also think we should actually mention lenses. I think the kit lens is a really good option for the M50, mostly because it has image stabilization. Makes it good for video and it's a good all-round lens for photography. In this video I've also used the Sigma 16mm because it's 1.4. I think the better upgrade is this one, the 22mm, because it goes to f2. That's also why I choose 2.2 with the Sigma rather than 1.4 for this comparison, just to give you the option of how much difference f2 versus 3.5 actually makes. This is very cheap, this is not. If you want to see a full tutorial and comparison between the three lenses, please leave a comment below and I will make that tutorial for you. Lastly, as we are speaking about better videos, is to discuss color grading. I'm using DaVinci Resolve. It's free and considered one of the best tools for color grading in the industry, and I also love it for editing. Let's look at the Sigma clip with just some minor color grading. That's nice, right? If you want to see how I grade M50 in DaVinci Resolve, leave a comment below and I will make that as well. Remember in the beginning, I promised to show you how you could get 4K quality without actually working in 4K. The secret is upscaling on rendering. So this is how it looks in DaVinci, but if you're using Final Cut Pro or Premiere or any other editing software, it might look a little bit different, but the settings will be there. You need to upscale from the full HD to 4K. Render it, upload to YouTube, and you're all done. Isn't that great? As usual, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you next time. Hello, 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 hello. I am bigger. Ooh, yeah, I'm bigger. No, I'm not. I'm bigger. Yeah, but I can zoom. Ha 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 ha.